All right, guys. So who is ready for this one? Cowboys, Jaguars this Sunday. Really exciting game come up here. The Cowboys are coming into Jacksonville for only the second time in their franchise's history. They come into Jacksonville with a 10-3 record, while the Jaguars are coming in with a 5-8 record. But even though we're 5-8, Jaguar fans are really excited because look, we're right here playing for the playoffs right now. Now we got to give a shout out to the AFC South. Look, we're only in this right now because the AFC South is so bad. You know, the Titans are 7-6. They look like they're reeling. Really, when you look at things, while the Jaguars are 2 games back, they're kind of like 1 game back right now because they have the opportunity to play the Titans head up. So, as long as the Titans lose one of these games, the Jaguars can be in control of their destiny, which is an exciting place to be. And it looks like the Jaguars are playing some of their best football, and the Jaguars are playing their best football, and the Titans are not. So it's going to be a cool opportunity here. And really, this matchup really reminds me of the Jaguars Seahawks game back in 2017 because I remember the Jags were 8-4 and the Seahawks were 8-4. It was in December, and we were looking at that game as something that I don't think a lot of like Jaguar fans were super confident about that one because really the Jaguars were beating opponents, but they were kind of beating up on bad opponents. I mean, if you remember that year in the AFC South, we were beating quarterbacks like TJ Yates and I think Tom Savage and Jacoby Brissett. Just the AFC South was weak, and just the schedule in general was weak. So, we weren't feeling that great, but we're like, look, this could be the game where we really establish ourselves. And then what happened that game? The Jaguars went out there and beat the Seahawks in a really awesome atmosphere, and it really propelled us right into the postseason. And we're hoping that this one is the same with the Cowboys, where the Jaguars can, man, this would be a big win for us if that were to come in there, man. And I already know that the tickets for this game are outrageous. I mean, I really did not know how prominent this Cowboys fan base was and just the market in general. But I mean, I never thought I would see the day where tickets are as expensive as they are. So yeah, I know I'll be at this one. My brother and my dad bought a couple tickets too, so we're gonna be at this one. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So the weather, this game, we'll go over that one too. It's gonna be a pretty nice day, man. A low of 40, a high of 56. It's gonna be like partly cloudy. It's a good, December football in Jacksonville is always great weather. It's just never really a great team. You know what I mean? We're never in this opportunity where we're playing meaningful games in December, but luckily we see ourselves in that position right now. So to go over the injury report a little bit, Trevor did not practice yesterday, and today I actually just got this in here. It looks like he was limited in practice today. Last week he didn't practice at all, so he was limited today, so that's a good sign, and he'll definitely be a go for Saturday or for Sunday. Andre Cisco was a full participant both today and yesterday. So, he's trending to play for the first time in 2 weeks. Darius Williams was limited after not practicing on Wednesday. Trayvon Walker did not practice for 2 games straight with an ankle injury. So I imagine he'll be a game time decision. I hope he's able to play because I think he's coming off one of his better games as a Jacksonville Jaguar last Sunday. We have Brandon Scherf limited after not practicing on Wednesday. Chad Muma was limited in practice. Andrew Wingard was limited for the second day in a row. So we have a little bit of an injury sheet, which is not something that we've had really over the course of the season. We've been pretty lucky when it comes to just the injury report. But, this game we got some guys to monitor. But I think the main guy to really monitor would be Trayvon Walker. And we're definitely going to need him if he's going to be in here. Now, when you preview the Cowboys a little bit, what makes the Cowboys are good, man? They're 10-3, and a big reason why they're so good is because they are really balanced when it comes to having a good offense and a good defense, and they're especially tough in the sacks category. 48 sacks on the year, which is crazy. That's second in the NFL, only behind the Philadelphia Eagles. Michael Parsons has 12 sacks. Terrace Armstrong, sorry, I wrote that name bad. He has 8 sacks. Demarcus Lawrence has 6 sacks, and Dante Dante Personal Fowler Jr. has 5 sacks. He's actually having a pretty good year under Dan Quinn's defense. So he'll be making a little bit of a homecoming this game. However, they are susceptible in different areas. They are about middle in the road in rushing yards, middle in the road in passing yards, and middle in the road when it comes to actually like getting interceptions. So those are a few things that to look at. But the main thing about this team is like they're great at getting sacks, and also they have a lot of studs on the defense. 3 in particular come to mind when it comes to Micah Parsons, his second year in the NFL. He's playing into that defensive player of the year role. He's been fantastic. Like I said, 12 sacks. That's third most in the NFL. 3 forced fumbles, which is also third most in the NFL. And some other guys are DeMarcus Lawrence and Trayvon Diggs, who has 3 interceptions on the year. So it's going to be a tough test for our offense against this defense. When you look at the other side of the ball, the Cowboys offense, they're a good offense, man. If you look at the points they've scored in the last 5 games, 27, 54, 28, 40, and 49. That is a lot of points. And, they have all kinds of guys. Dak Prescott, really good quarterback. He was injured in the early part of the year, but he has 1,800 yards right now, 14 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. CeeDee Lamb is leading in the wide receiver group with 961 yards and 6 touchdowns. Some other notable wide receivers are Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz at tight end, as well as Michael Gallup. The rushing game, it really feels like, over the last few years, I pay pretty good attention to this because I play fantasy football. It never seemed like they knew what to do when it comes to splitting up carries between Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. But now it feels like they finally kind of learned how to do it. Tony Pollard is the guy that, they don't use him as much in the red zone. It's more of Ezekiel Elliott. They insert him in the red zone. And when it comes to just moving the chains downfield, they use Tony Pollard. And they've been both excellent in their roles. Pollard, 894 rushing yards on the year with 9 touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott also has 9 touchdowns, but 716 rushing yards on the ground. So very capable offense and very capable defense. Probably more than capable, I should say. So the Jaguars definitely have our hands full with this one. Now, some of the keys for me is that, look, the Jaguars need to have long offensive drives, pick up first downs, keep the ball out of the Cowboys' hands and just control the time of possession. Last week, Jamal Agnew, to start the second half, he had a kick return for a touchdown that got called back due to a holding call. But the Jaguars wound up taking the ball, driving all the way downfield, and they drained half of the quarter. That's the type of stuff that we need to do. We need to have long, sustainable drives that lead in points, get the ball out of the Cowboys offense's hands so they can't really get into a rhythm. Maybe they start pressing a little bit more and kind of playing out of their playbook. And we need to really be able to establish that lead on them. That's a huge thing with this one. Defense, what we know is that, look, the Cowboys are going to score points. They're just going to do it. I mean, I read through the last 5 games and how many points they're putting up. They are elite at putting points on the board. But it's all about, look, the defense, they're going to need to get some turnovers. They're going to need to get some big plays, whether it's turnovers or sacks or just like quick 3 and outs. Like, we're going to have to find ways to get certain wins. And, that's a big thing this game. It cannot be a repeat of the Lions game where the Cowboys literally score on every possession. That absolutely cannot happen. So, that's a big one. But my main key with this one is that, look, I want Trevor to cook, man. Like, let Trevor Lawrence cook. I know the Cowboys have a high sack number this year, but if you look at things right now, man, the running game really is not working very well for us when it comes to, ETN running a little bit timid and scared, as well as just the offensive line not being great at run blocking right now. We need to understand that and know what the identity of this team is. And that's that, look, Trevor Lawrence being able to deliver the ball, finding the receiver that we want to be hot this game. I know the Jaguars, it feels like, early on in these games, who's going to be the hot wide receiver because they go to the guy pretty early. We've seen guys like Christian Kirk have 100-yard receiving games. We've seen Zay Jones have his 100-yard receiving games. We saw Ingram just come off of a 100-yard receiving game. He had like 15, targets last game, something ridiculous. And, you can tell that the Jaguars going into these games, they figure out the weak point in the opposing defense and just figure out, where there might be a matchup problem, and that's where the Jaguars go. So I'll be interested to see that early on. I wonder if the Jaguars do try to get ETN back going. He's been, last 4 weeks, he's been pretty ineffective, only 33.5 rushing yards per game over the course of the last 4 games, which is obviously not good. So, but at the end of the day, we've seen what ETN can be. He can be a really explosive, powerful running back. And you almost wonder why, if the Cowboys are sitting here, looking at how they're going to stop Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars wide receivers, if they decide to maybe not load up the box a little bit, I wonder if the Jaguars try to smack them in the mouth and get a little bit of ETN action going on. That would be interesting to see. But at the same time, we can't get too cute when it comes to trying to establish ETN if we know that the Cowboys are going to put up a lot of points. We just might not have time for that. This is definitely the toughest game left on the schedule, I think. Cowboys are the best team on the schedule. When you look at our schedule, we have Cowboys, then Jets, then Texans, then Titans. Cowboys, this is going to be a tough game. When I look at this one, man, I really do think that the Jaguars have a great chance to win. I actually listened to an interview Micah Parsons had this week. It was with some network, but he seemed okay with the game against the Texans. And then instead of talking about the Jaguars, he's talking about next week against the Eagles. I really feel like when you look at this game right now, this is a really, really important game for the Jaguars. They need this game to get back in the playoff hunt, or to stay around the playoff hunt, I should say. And the Cowboys don't really need this game. For the Jaguars, this is probably the biggest home game since 2017, 2018. When you look at the Cowboys, this is a 1:00 game in Jacksonville. That's just straight up what it is. And this game is more important to the Jaguars. I feel like the Cowboys right now are in this mode of, okay, we have the Eagles next week. We got to beat them. And if we don't beat them, whatever, we'll see them in the playoffs. Like, they're essentially locked for a playoff spot. I think all they need is like one more win to get into the playoffs. So this Jacksonville game really isn't all that important to them. And what they have on their mind is beating the Eagles. How are they going to beat the Eagles? I really do feel like they're looking past us. They looked past the Texans. Look what the Texans did. They were a 1-yard rush away from putting them away, essentially being able to get up 10 points. And honestly, I'm pretty blessed now looking back on it that the Cowboys did win that one, because I don't know if that's something that I don't think anything will motivate them more. If they got that loss that game, I think that would have woken them up a lot more than getting a a close win like this, because losses just hit different. So yeah, like I said, this just needs to come to which team is hungriest. So that's the big thing with this one. And at the end of the day, man, what is going to win us this game is that Trevor Lawrence needs to keep balling. He needs to keep playing at the level that he's been playing at. I mean, he's been outstanding. It's been really hard to find a quarterback that's been playing better than him over the course of the last, 5 games. His numbers are outrageous. I mean, I'm not going to go back into all his numbers. I did that in my last video, but you guys all know what's going on if you've been watching the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence has been magnificent. If he keeps playing, tough football, keeps taking care of the ball, keeps delivering, crazy throws, and just keeps his command of the Jaguars offense, as well as his confidence that he's been having lately. This Jaguars team is a very, very dangerous team. And I hope that this one, which is the juice in Jacksonville right now, with the crazy environment that is going to be on Sunday, partly due to the fact that there's going to be so many Cowboys fans there. And it's just, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Let me know your thoughts about this game. I love to hear from you guys. I'm making this recap or this preview video pretty early because I'm freaking juiced for it, man. It's hard for me to concentrate with different things I'm doing because I just can't wait to go down to Jacksonville on Sunday, or I should say up to Jacksonville on Sunday, and watch these Jaguars hopefully beat the Dallas Cowboys. Let me know what you think. If you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe. Drop a like on your way out. Go Jags.